Hello, good morning. The time is 6:20. Yeah. And today is 11th of October, 2024. And I have been doing these um, podcasts since some time because there have been so much that I had to say. And I've been saying life has always been talking. Who's been listening? Yeah. Um, Turns out I've been doing the talking too, and I've been one of the concern has been nobody's really listening because I'm talking about so many things that I've been seeing all around and since a few years, and I've been saying things, and it's like everybody's busy with their own things, and sometimes they listen a little peek of something, um and it like life like a gush, lot of things to say, like a river, like from many places, and then lots of stories and then things happening. And then, it's like you sit by a river side and you hear the gurgles. Yeah. Water moving, dashing against itself, um, other water particles, molecules, and over rocks and over the banks. And there's always talking. Yeah. Wind is always talking to leaves, rustle, rustle. And you could say you're making up your own stories, but they are saying something in a particular sequence. In English, Hindi, Kannada, what language have you? You just listen to just sounds in the traffic. Yeah, that's talking a language too. Um, so you could say, if you, Mr. Nikola Tesla is said to have is said to have quoted that if you want to learn the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. And then we have people talking in terms of at this particular frequency, health improves. Or this particular experience is had. This particular frequency is low and gets you into down states. This frequency is high, raise your vibration. So, and then we have many languages. And I've been, over many years, I haven't been thinking in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. Yeah. Because frequency for me is like sounds. Music has different notations, and each sound and musical notation. Sarigamapadanisa. Yeah. So each of them is a frequency. And when you song, a song is several frequencies. Colors have different frequencies. The rainbow has many frequencies. So for me, that's how frequencies is. It's not something that you make sounds by, but something that you notice and appreciate. That's my relationship with frequency. And when you say energy, um, and when you say vibration, they're all related facets, like three sides of the same thing, kind of. Yeah. Um, and one of the things that over time has been my experience is there's a lot of talk. A lot of people are talking, and I've also been talking. And one of the concerns I've had is nobody's really listening. Yeah, whether they're listening or unable to listen to. And often they've said, you're not listening. And I have been in medical transcription since about, 19 plus years listening. Yeah, listen to doctors, different health facilitators talk, dictate, and then I have to transcribe that into an electronic medium and then send it back to where the doctors would like it to be sent to. So the transcription bit, listening, so 19 plus years of listening, um, and the listening on how to listen. Yeah. And then my work has been over time then to improve the quality of the content, of the text. So somebody is like, I'm talking, and if you just edit it as it is with the and I say a word and then go back and then say a word again, or I'm speaking in one context and then jumping from one context to another, one topic to another. And then if you just read it as is, it would not make sense. Probably what I'm speaking also is not making sense, unless in some sort of a rhythm. So my job was to then get that report edited in such a way that it makes sense. And it makes sense in such a way that there are no errors. It had to come to 98 to 100% accuracy, accurate to what the person dictated. And that doesn't mean with the and the context and the repeat and all of that, but accurate to the content and to the medical, the reason for why a person is dictating. So my journey has been about listening and then making corrections such that the document comes to perfection and then meets the purpose for why the document is created to begin with, which is to help patients meet their medical care, have their medical care documented in such a way that then insurance people and other people who then look through the records get the information that they need to, the way it needs to be accurate. For example, a medication's dosage, 0.25. Yeah, the zero is omitted and it's put there as 25 milligrams. That will be overdose. And, over medication can causes many kinds of concerns. Yeah. So, life of a person in a document. Yeah. So, that's been some of my work. These two have been going hand in hand for about 19 plus years. And then midway, since 2000, well, I joined the transcription industry in 2001. And then August 2000 is when I started training. March 2001 is when I started on-the-job training in a company. I came to Bengaluru and then started on-the-job training, and then got absorbed into the same company. And then 2013 is when I started training to be a clinical health facilitator, biodynamic craniosacral therapy. And then from there, since it's a 2-year course, November 2014. And then I did some post-graduation courses, after this, to then, after the foundation course, the diploma course, and then further to get better at the work. While I started clinical work, I graduated and then started my clinical practice. And since then, it's like once you graduate from school, it's about how you apply what you learn. And then as you're improving with your learnings is how you get better at what you're practicing. Like an artist, they draw something and then over time they improve on their quality. And according to how much of work they put in is how they get better at what they're doing. So I've been doing this simultaneously while I was working my 8-hour job, which then became 9-hour job, transcription, medical transcription. So I was doing this, the clinical work parallelly. I would finish my 9-hour shift. Sometimes it would go more, and then I would go for my clinical practice after that. I also had to study, which is part of the becoming a better health facilitator. And then this has been going on until Jan 30th, 2020, which is when I completely came into my own enterprise, facilitating health and furthering the research and development and improving the content quality of what began as my clinical practice, over time became a health maintenance practice in the sense I've came to finding a movementless method of yoga because I was facilitating health clinically in a biodynamic method of healthcare. And that doesn't really stop. It's like once a soldier, always a soldier. Yeah. So I was noticing I was facilitating health for others, but to take care of myself, if I have to go to somebody else, that does not match because the kind of practitioner you become over time, it's like um, a cook. Yeah, they start cooking and then they have to take care of their own instruments. Yeah, wash it, maintain the kitchen clean, and because it's the same person who cook and uses instruments and then cook, and then so you don't really know your art if you cannot um, practice it yourself. Yeah, uh, you don't. You're doing something for others, which you don't know the experience of yourself. You don't know what is that you're dishing out to others and how's the experience for them. So I had to practice on myself to see how's my experience with myself. What kind of a person am I with myself? Because that is what I am consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously um, meting out to others as an experience. So this is also where I began what's called as a biofeedback. In the sense, if I'm a health facilitator in the clinical setup, and I'm not when I'm outside the clinical setup, then what kind of a person am I? How true am I? It's kind of a self-reflection and then seeing how much am I worth my salt? Yeah. How much am I? Is it a way of living or is it something that I'm doing? Yeah. At a point in time, and then I'm something else. And I found that I'm more best me, more me than being somebody else, different kinds of personas and identities. Uh, when I'm in the clinical setup, because it feels it has been feeling very true to me. So I thought, why can't I be this way outside the clinical setup too? So I'm not becoming something other than who I uh, need to be. And then I discovered there are many facets to it. And that's how I came up with 4 verticals in facilitating health. One is the clinical work, where I'm working with a person. Another is and touch-based. And then there is also health facilitation, what I call as movementless yoga, where I'm interacting with another person, but not having to touch a person. Yeah. Where I could be having a conversation with you, and how we interact either has you get better in health, do well in life, and what does that take? Yeah. So my inquiry has been, what does that take? So while we having a conversation, your life gets better, your health gets better. So there are many facets to what makes a person human. So it's an experiential interaction, experiential engagement. And then another one is what I call as course correction counseling, where you would say free advices, don't give free advices. And then I discovered what I've been tending to do is counseling. You make small course corrections. Um, stitch in time saves 9. So over time, I noticed it's better something is said than watch 5 years, even 2 weeks, 2 days down the line. They're doing something that is not so healthy. Yeah. So um, that over time became course correction counseling. Yeah. And then you have a skill at that. What better to say? Otherwise, they'll come back, but don't give us free advices. And then you're saying one thing, they go in another direction, and then instead of something good happening, something else is happening. So over time, you discover what better to say, what not to say. Communication. Yeah. And then there is communication challenges. And then community harmonizing activities. When you're sitting in a group, there are certain dynamics happening. And then what has a group function together versus be disharmonious. So that's a study in itself. And there are fine points to that. And then what to speak, what not to speak, when is silence better, and when is speaking working. So I discovered just being silent itself, a lot of health is improving. And how to be silent in such a way that health improves. So from when we speak in terms of frequency, energy, vibration, they even say silence is golden. But what kind of a silence is golden? And then I discovered stillness, where I discovered there are 6. kind of call it, there are layers in silent stillness, nothing. And then, okay, then I'm speaking in terms of stillness. And then I discovered there is nothing. People have a difficulty being nothing, and they make a whole lot of meanings about what nothing is, while everything is happening. And then um, how to do nothing properly. They say boredom causes things. Yeah. And then I have been doing this for a few years, and then I discovered it's not about boredom. It's about how to do nothing in such a way that um, you're doing things, not having to get bored, but they say um, doing things in such a way that your being is actually doing, and your silence is good enough as a speech, as a conversation, and your stillness is good enough as a movement. Yeah. So I could just be sitting, and I could be dancing, singing, and talking all at once, or dancing, singing, and doing everything. Yeah, kind of um, all at once. And then there is the talking, and then moving, and then doing things. So that's also there. So you kind of have, I call it best of both worlds, the movementless and the movement based. But that's also, I find, what's available between in being human, yeah, in being humane, in being kind, in being in living a normal, ordinary, harmonious living. So, um, and I quite often find that several aspects of these, including how we touch our dishes, our vegetables, our um, different ingredients in our house, gives rise to the longevity of those ingredients, the quality of food, the um, life expectancy of people whom we interact with, their state of well-being, when we are interacting with them, how we are interacting with them. So health, wealth, wisdom, I find three areas. Let's say health, wealth, and education. Yeah, wisdom, that sense. Wisdom is also wisening over time. So that process, it's not just you could go to school and be educated. So there's literacy, there's education, and then there is wisdom, wisening over time. So what does that take? Has been some of the precipitates that came about as you're doing the right things, um, as you're you're going further. You could say deep work as you're doing those inquiring in those facets, which um, it's like an artist when you're drawing something and then you learn certain depths, and when you do this, something else happens. When you then shade something and something else happens. Then there are layers, and over time, from a stick drawing, you're drawing to a fully um, three-dimensional, so real you don't know whether it's a drawing or a photograph or a real person. Yeah. So um, what does that take? So it's about how much of effort you put at what you really care about. Yeah. So I facilitate, so over time it came to be saying premium health, wealth, and wisdom at affordable price. Um, because I find one of the things I found is people have health challenges, but when it comes to price, even though they have health challenges, money becomes a reason why they won't invest. Yeah. So it's like everything there, but this is not there. Yeah. So that's how slowly I came to Sanatana Dharma. Yeah. And then you discover Ashtalakshmi. There are 8 forms of currencies of exchange. And um, so it's about, if you think in terms of transaction, then it just becomes business. It's just another transaction. And there are 8 forms of transaction. I found business itself is a cause for disease. Constant transactions is also how we have, quote unquote, economy. without humanity. Humanity across boundaries being affected by um, it just business. It's just business transactions. Yeah, give and take, and um, it's just object. Yeah, it's all energy, and the matter or the subject of the matter of being human, of being humane, of being alive, of love, of living, and why people seek liberation from life. Yeah, why we have so much of spiritual practices, why we have WHO's list of diseases, comes from several levels, several layers of several of these factors that haven't been spoken about, addressed, looked into as well as it needs to. Different people in different spheres of influence thinking about it. But the benefit of it's like water, rain, and then there is a small little puddle, a little pool, a little lake, and then water just flows together when there is a rain or the water body has so much filled in that begins to start flowing. Over time, small little streams, rivulets, river, yeah, and then you have the sea, and then you have different big sizes of sea to ocean, to have many oceans, and we have earth, and the kind of quality that of water that's there available on earth is not found anywhere else, because life, the water on earth and the other elements gives rise to life in its many forms, including evolving human beings over time. And continuing, the evolution is continuing, and we are still searching for signs of life elsewhere in the multiverse. Yeah, I would say multiverse because Jupiter is speaking in a particular frequency, energy, vibration, different from Saturn, different from Mercury, different from Sun, different from different galaxies. Yeah, so they're all still listening in terms of. I think they're paying attention to light and not particular and sounds. Maybe I don't know if they're paying attention in terms of sounds. I'm not so updated about astrophysics in that sense. But I do know they pay attention to light. Yeah. I don't know if they can. Okay. So, but that's also frequency. Yeah. Frequency, energy, vibration. So I've been thinking a baby in a mommy's womb. Yeah. Mommy wouldn't know a baby is there. Yeah. But some sense, I'm thinking some sounds of life. I don't know. In some sense, a mother comes to know, oh, baby. Yeah. Um, so it could be sometimes a vomiting, another pregnancy signs. But there's also in African ways of thinking, there's this idea that the baby is around, has been around the mother and parent um, since some time before. Yeah. And so in that sense, the mother would know or parent would know. So there's it's a different um, way of thinking, way of appreciating life um, from singularity and plurality. So we have um, a way of relating with life as the microcosm and the macrocosm, where it's not quite separate. More like water has a certain surface tension with life as experienced outside, in which case even a bottle has a life of its own because there are molecules in a particular density, which is different. Say water has a certain density of molecules. This has a different density of molecules. Air has a different density of molecules. And they're all moving. Electrons, protons, neutrons, there are things moving. So to that extent, is movement life? In which case, you would say chair, and chair is moving in a way that my body is moving differently. So then the classification of what is living and non-living is the degree of movement that's there, or what all kind of movement is happening. So in that sense, everything is alive. The universe is alive because there are movement, because there's a frequency at which the movement is happening. There's a certain energy by which the movement is happening. So there is also the reference that everything is energy, but not. There's matter. Chair has a different matter, which is different from the matter of a bottle, fire has a different energy because you can't touch it. It's not matter. Fire is not matter. Fire is energy. So, but water you can touch. So water is matter and not energy. So in that sense, a definition of matter and energy is a bit based on what you can touch and not touch. In which case, can you touch the person that is you? Of course, you can touch your skin, the matter. Yeah. So if you go by the definition of what you can touch is matter and what you can't is energy, are you matter or energy? Because say in a surgery, in the landmark education, they say if you cut open a person, the person won't pop out because the person is part of all of that, all of the substance of a person. And so that would be a difference between an alive person and a cadaver. Yeah. Or is that just that a bone during excavations, when they find a bone, the bone belonged to a human or an organism. And to that extent, if the bone has not completely degenerated, to that extent, the person is still alive because the matter of the person is still there since when the organism was a tiny little egg or cell, and then over time formed a bone or a part of the whole. So in that sense, the mummies, Egyptian mummies, are they alive to the extent, in the sense they are preserved like a dried meat? Yeah. Until so you have these canned frozen food. So to that extent, they are preserving the life. And so you're not really eating dead meat. Yeah. So it's a way of thinking. It's about how you relate with subject and object, with life. A phone, is it something to be used and thrown? Yeah. Or do you have a relationship with it? Yeah. People, do you relate with a phone as you would with a person, or is a person a use and throw? Yeah. So a relationship with subject and object, a relationship with our own self. Yeah. Are we just an instrument, something with which you do your daily activities, and then once a day is over, feed if hungry, or just work. It's just another piece of equipment. Yeah. Or do you relate with yourself as a subject and object? Body as an instrument by which you do work, and also body as home with a subject, the person is alive. A home in that sense, a house, a room. Yeah. Is it just four walls, a roof, and a floor? Or is it an alive organization, just like our body is an alive organization? Or do you see yourself as an alive organization, organism? Organism in the sense, uh, I can't say person, an entity that also is being reducing it to just that. Are we a force in the sense, a force? We are alive for a reason. And so my idea of organism is a force organizing what there is in a particular order, in a particular way, that then, for example, forms this room, forms a company, forms a group, um, an activity, a hobby, a, a, a creation, a movie, for example. Yeah. Organizes. And so a person, I'm relating to me as a person here, but I'm more like a force. Yeah. And it's just a person. We would have to look closely to what do a person mean by a person. Yeah. Do we even relate to ourselves as a human being? Or do we relate to ourselves as a female or a male or a thing, because others treat you as a thing, and so you're a thing who just does things, yeah, this, and not quite related to as a person with life and feelings and emotions, and not just a object moved from one place to another. Yeah. um, so how are people relating to um, ourselves, our own relationship with ourselves, and how others relate to us? Yeah. So what's the experience of being human? It is also dependent on, say, let's say Heisenberg uncertainty principle, slit lamp exam. You they say when you're passing light, yeah, depending on how, depending on the perspective, the observer, light either shows up as a wave or as a particle. Yeah. um, Life either moves in straight lines or in waves, so forms interference, or just forms two lines. Yeah, the slit lamp exam. So if 10 people are looking at you in 10 different ways, are you not you? Yeah. Or do you become other than how you are? Um, and how do you relate to yourself from in that moment and when you're outside? Yeah. Outside such a 10 people watching you. For example, you go to a concert or you watch somebody on the theater, on the stage. There are many people relating to those people on the stage in their own ways. What's the experience of the person on the stage? Yeah. So you could say over time, they develop a capacity for doing their stuff on stage while there are many people relating to you in a particular way. Um, what if it's a person like me talking from here about listening, healthcare, and I'm talking about the human condition, and I'm talking about health, wealth, and wisdom, and I'm talking over the internet, and there are people watching me or not, listening to what I'm saying or not, and then each one have their own opinion. And what if I'm like a mummy, frozen in time? Yeah, I have a bone somewhere, yeah, which is not completely degenerated from a past lifetime, like a mummy, and then sitting here, and then talking about historical things which is, not been heard or spoken in a long time. And then I'm speaking about things about normal, ordinary, harmonious living, and from perspectives that I'm saying Sanatana Dharma and movementless yoga. Yeah, and I'm talking in terms of in living life in the multiverse. Yeah, so I'm saying things which hasn't been heard of before. And then you say from the future, from the past. But what's a relationship with time? Yeah. So what is a relationship with being now here versus you're having thoughts from a few minutes ago and you just can't be in the moment because distracted by a thought or an idea, and then you just can't be here. Yeah. So in that sense, what's a relationship with time? And then I'm speaking things like this on the internet. So how people look at me like an observer pays attention to a photon, to a light moving through a slit lamp. Um, and a photon moves as a particle or a wave. So how I am moving, yeah, from how you look at me, is that how I'm really moving? Or do you see me as moving the way I am? That's not what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing. And you think I'm moving this way, like the, photon in the slit lamp exam. And you cannot see otherwise because your beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Yeah. Um, so in that sense, reality, if two people are observing the same uh, experiment, they would arrive at two different conclusions. Just like a few ask two people, who witnessed an event, and they describe it in their own ways because of how they're seeing things, or because that thing changed. Did it really change, or did their perception of what happened changed? And so they have their own version of reality. Yeah. And then you would say subjective view of the world and objective view of the world. And then you would say schizophrenic. One person makes their version of reality where the pieces are put together or not, and another person has reality in their sense. And it is coherent or schizophrenic, depending on how the puzzle pieces talk to each other. Otherwise, you have multiple personality disorder. Yeah. The disorder is when it's not quite speaking to each other. But do we really check with known facts, with known ideas of how the planets move, for example, how a molecule functions, or why a bottle is the way it is, or where does rain come from, where do tears come from, why do we have WHO's list of diseases? Yeah. So there are many dots of information, bytes of information, and then it's about how we put things together and how we arrive at conclusions, how we arrive at this works, this doesn't work, there's a problem here, and this solution is missing. And then you find one, two, three, many, many facets which hasn't been looked at or couldn't be able to be looked at. And then I'm talking about enlivening life in the multiverse. Yeah. How am I arriving at this is why human beings are in existence for? You could say wishful thinking, but what is your point of reference by which what I'm saying makes sense or not? I spoke in terms of the light photon, yeah? Photons, light. There's also sounds. For example, people are listening to, paying attention in telescopes for frequency, energy, vibration. But in terms of light, what if there are sounds that's there from the universe? One person is talking, another person, yeah. So we pay attention to, so I say senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, knowing. We're paying attention to the light, but not to the sound, or to the smell, or to the taste, or to the feeling, or to the knowing, the bit of information that has knowledge, as in degree of what you know, ledge, like steps, how much a first standard person knows something which is different from a PhD person. Yeah. So a professional knows something which a person who's just beginning the practice don't. Yeah. So there's a seasoning into becoming better into who you are, what you do. So I have been doing this work since a few years. And I find people are wanting to even also go off to Mars. Yeah. Fly off to Mars and then talk in terms of build colonies there. And I'm thinking that's like infectious diseases. Yeah. In the sense, when you associate one bit of information with another set of information, there's like, forming colonies there. That's like a locust. Yeah. There's an infestation and they want to form colonies or ant colonies or as like insects. Yeah. But that's also a way of thinking. There's an associative behavioral set of information. And then there is a logic of how feasible is it and what all would it take for that. And then why is all these movements there? For example, the internet came about at one point in time. Agriculture came at a point in time. Money came about at a point in time. And they've all brought their own dynamics into our everyday ways of living. So here is some people wanting to fly off to Mars, and that has a certain thought line, which it brings about, which wasn't there earlier. And here I'm talking about enlivening life in the multiverse. So while we have different ideas emerging, it's about how are we affecting the scheme of things? What kind of thought lines are we inspiring, having people think? And why are they there at a point in time? And how do they all come together? How do they influence our way of thinking, being, becoming, behaving? I'm about bringing down WHO's list of diseases. Yeah. So why are you doing what you're doing? What has you wake up in the morning and go about being busy? What is your force? What is that you're doing things for? Why? What for have you been born? You're born and you're doing things. What for? When you kind of inquire into, you're likely to at some point arrive at this is what you would rather do, or this is what you're doing things for. Yeah. Or uh, this is the result for which you're doing things. And there could be a set of information that comes, a range, a spectrum of information that is better documented, by which you recognize what for are you doing things. And in paying attention, in just documenting these fors, you arrive at a why. The why that has, you recognize why you made that choice, why you didn't make that choice, what would you rather make choices for, and then you can also improve your for, your why for doing things. Why you say pick up an apple, yeah, versus pick up a stone, yeah, or do an activity versus anything else. So what would you rather do? Or becomes much more easier. So you're doing things which then is working towards meeting those goals. And those goals, then you can examine if it's benefiting you, people around you, future generations. If they're all going to be benefited, that's like 20% of your work that covers 80% of the benefits, which over time then earns grace, blessings, incomes, um, um, values, which hitherto could not be there because you've already begun work on addressing the problems which has been bothering history and herstories in some time. Yeah. So from your being in existence, things which could not be thought about, talked about, starts getting worked with. Yeah. And that's going to be a few people who are not going to be dealing with those challenges anytime soon because you're working on them. Yeah. So that's also one way by which, over time, one way by which you begin to start managing the information you have. Yeah. You're doing many activities. You watch WhatsApp, you listen to social media, pay attention to billboards, and different people are saying many things. But once you're clear about your force, what for you're doing things, your why for being in existence, why you do certain activities, why you talk to certain people, don't talk to certain other people, it then becomes easier for you to look at where are you headed? Is that where you really want to head to? Yeah. Once you can see your why, you can see your Z, once you pay attention to where you are right now, like X, it becomes easier for you to see why you do what you do from your force, what for you're doing things. And then look at, when you pay attention to your why, your force, you'll see where are you headed to, which you may be just generally going in the direction of it, or you don't know where you're actually going, but you'd rather just do things. Yeah. To it gets clearer where are you headed, and is it where you really want to head to, from the kind of experiences you have? Are you inspired to get there? Is that why you're doing things or not? And then it becomes easier to see how much benefits you can get. If you win, people around you win, future generations also win. That's a win-win-win game. Yeah. Because then your actions, your investments, your um, people you interact with, why you interact with them, becomes more time efficient. Yeah. Um, for me, I discovered human beings are for enlivening life in the multiverse. Yeah. So being in this tiny house, tiny second floor penthouse. Yeah. Um, it's like the Himalayas in the city. So I could be sitting in a restaurant, I could be sitting alone, I could be um, watching television, or listening to the radio, I am on my research and development because it's about humans, it's about people, it's about life, it's about subject, object, and just about everything that is beautiful. And, it's about everything. Yeah. And I am making, and I find silence, stillness, and nothing makes frequency, energy, vibration better. Yeah. And people are all studying in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. So, but so with doing the right things keeps happening. Yeah. I find there are ecological projects that develop, and then health improvement projects that develop, and then the products, for example, they even discovered a fabric that can photosynthesize, and they can make bags out of it, clothes. Yeah. So they're more inspired to do things. Yeah. So I find there is a lot of benefit, even if I'm just sitting here and doing particularly nothing. Yeah. Um, I'm not making anything happen. Oh, that idea? No, positive intention. I don't even have to speak. I don't have to do anything. I am paying attention to my own bodily composition and improving the composition of my body. So it's like noisy music. As you improve health, your body functions like a fine-tuned instrument. Yeah. And you're not then, you could say theremin. Yeah. Theremin is played without there being strings. You're playing with the strings of, no. You're playing with music, you're creating music. No, a body already is functioning at many frequency, energy, vibration. And I don't have to raise the vibration, reduce anything. I only pay attention to what already is. And so I call it movementless yoga. It's a biodynamic method of healthcare where I'm interacting with life. I'm responding to life, noticing how others are paying attention to me and how I'm paying attention to others and my relationship with the bottle, with everything. And then as I'm improving my relationship with everything, my conscience, my consciousness, my conscience, okay, I call it Pisces. Physical, intellectual, spiritual. It's more like, okay, physical, intellectual, spiritual, spatio-temporal, conscience, yeah, emotion, and social consciousness. So 6. So I pay attention, at least in terms of 6. So I call it my AS, okay, administrative statistical system. Information put together over time to, little bits of information. What do I do things for? And what do I like? What I don't like? What are all the different areas? Over time, this information gets sorted out in a particular format that I call my AS, yeah, administrative statistical system. And I found there are 6 layers of it, 6 into 6. So I have a 36, by which this is this idea of 36 fundamental particles. So I thought, anyhow, there is this. So it just makes sense. It just, life just works. So, so I study people, I study life, I study myself. I study what's happening now. There is Andromeda galaxy in different stages of merger with spiral Milky Way galaxy. So there is still change is a constant in life. So it helps me to maintain the stability of my studies. For example, a person who's painting also gets affected by many things. I'm a health facilitator. I facilitate health. So to maintain my practice, so while I'm interacting with people, be it on a clinical, on-table therapy work, while I'm interacting with another person, while I'm, say, watching kids do their activities, I could make a small course correction so they are, more set for health, wealth, wisdom. Could be different people I'm interacting with, paid, unpaid. People, we are all on the same planet. And then there is communities I'm amidst. There is a neighborhood. There's a group of people I have been participating in business networking, network groups. And then there are dynamics of what works, what doesn't work. So there are 4 areas from which I've been paying attention to. One is touch-based healing work. Another is no touch-based, again, healing work, in-person, therapeutic, or just conversational. Yeah. So that way. So that way I can also take care of myself without having to depend on somebody else to take care of me. So I can manage myself. And then I teach people so they are also able to take care of themselves, not always having to depend on somebody else to maintain being alive, healthy, wealthy, wise. Yeah. So there is that bit too. So there is that aspect. And then there's course correction. How to, if you're, how to be on your path in such a way that you're doing the right things, healthy, wealthy, wise things, and becoming better over time. And even if you're lost, how to get found. Yeah. So it requires action. It requires you to do certain things so that you're on your path, like a painter. Yeah. They develop their skill, and over time, there are certain activities, a certain discipline by which they are becoming better. So they're not devolving over it. So what can be done such that your life is stably becoming better? So I have that, and then community harmonizing activities, which means I would need to regularly engage with community, by which I'm maintaining my skills, which has developed over time. So what does it take for us to have normal, ordinary, harmonious living? Are, I find, at least these four. So when you say, may the force be with you, um, this is what I find is required to live in life in the multiverse. And when that is happening, I find that's also what they're calling a samudra manthan. Yeah, there's the idea of the samudra manthan, but they may be talking in terms of, oh, gems emerge. Yeah, um, the holy cow emerged, apsaras emerged, rishis emerged. Yeah, so there are these references, and I'm finding Sanatana Dharma in the 21st century looks like somebody's inspired to make a fabric that photosynthesizes. They start ecological projects. Yeah. Um, they discovered lab-grown diamonds, but I'm thinking we should be having natural diamonds. So as I'm doing content quality, one of the work of what I found from movementless yoga is you can improve tattva shuddhi, the earth, water, fire, air, spirit, space, a lot of contamination. They say sound pollution, air pollution, soil pollution. And I find from just paying attention to my own body as a microcosm and macrocosm in that sense, people are working on ecological projects. Yeah. People are inspired to do many things because our consciousness gets affected from the quality of earth, water, fire, air, spirit, space that forms a microcosm as well as a macrocosm. So the difference between earth and, say, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mercury is the quality of earth, water, fire, spirit, space. That's that of earth versus other planets. And that's, say, there's been the volcano, yeah, there's been earth, natural phenomena. And that also gives rise to, there are also people dying, yeah, in fire, water, they are buried in the soil, for example. Yeah. So they all have mummies, for example. Yeah. So these elements, earth, water, fire, spirit, space, they go through their own distressing moments. Yeah. And they need regular decontamination, detangling, de-traumatization. Earth, water, fire, spirit, space needs de-traumatization regularly because of the different experience that they have. Yeah. So I help de-traumatize earth, water, fire, spirit, space. So when earth, water, fire, spirit, space, I find is also what makes the microcosm and the macrocosm, then the elements are more inspired to, I mean, everything forms from them. So somebody's inspired to make a fabric that the photosynthesizes. Somebody's inspired to go clean the lake. Somebody's inspired to think about soil, and then, healthy babies and all kinds of different projects. Yeah. So I find that is Samudra Manthan in the 21st century. Yeah. So we have the mythological reference of Samudra Manthan, and then what is possible from being human? Yeah. It's so nice. So I find this is possible. And so I've been talking about this as my suite of services, coachings, products, solutions to make all that there is everything better. Yeah. Um, Nothing and everything better. I say nothing and everything because we're also doing nothing. Some of us are also calling ourselves unemployed. Yeah. But um, they're alive, which means they are doing something. They're a force, they are for something, which is why they're alive. They're doing. So how to do nothing better, such that life and live into the multiverse? Yeah, that's also something I teach. So there are many benefits to being a biodynamic craniosacral therapist. That's where I started. I call it meristem intelligence. Me, re, stem. Yeah. Like you say, our foot, yeah, our feet. There's a great toe, yeah, like the great toe. And then there's a second toe, yeah. So fertility, in at least in India, South India, yeah, they wear a toe ring on the second toe, yeah, like great toe, second toe. They wear a toe ring to maintain. One of the reasons for that is to maintain the fertility, yeah. So people talk in terms of menopause, and there are birth rate concerns across the globe, many places. Yeah. So um, me, me, re, like the second toe. Yeah. Stem. Yeah. What does it take? Fertile earth. Yeah. Fertile microcosm, macrocosm, and live in life in the multiverse. And um, so soil fertility. That's also earth fertility. So what does it take to um, be productive in such a way that life and limits in the multiverse? Yeah. So me, re, stem, intelligence. The intelligence required to be a normal, ordinary, harmonious, harmony facilitating humane being. Yeah. Original humane intelligence. Yeah. I call it no technology because we keep talking about everything now, but not particularly, but nothing in particular. Yeah. So no thing. I've covered some bit of my conscience. How do I put things together and how do I see life? Um, Different people. There are many shlokas, many verses about the Sri Chakra and the Mahameru and many mandalas. But I don't think we've actually put all the Lego pieces together or even the wheels together. It's like a vehicle. I don't think we put all the wheels together, which is when the whole system functions. Yeah. And like one big machinery. Yeah. So that's what I'm making available through these videos. So this is more like there could be a question of who are you, what do you do, why you are what you do, and how did you get here? And I'm hoping that this video kind of explains that. I know this may not be somebody's idea of a great room. Okay. It's more like each of us have something which somebody else, a lot of people may be just dreaming about. If only I could have at least that. Yeah, I have this. And to form this, pain has taken a few years. Yeah, 2011 to the present moment. That's a long time. Yeah, that's some eventful movements. Um, and this, I thought it was a green screen. Yeah, but it's sometimes it's like a memory palace. It reminds me of mast, ship mast. So to remember that we are going forward. So in my tiny house, I have a mast, like a Moana, and the canoe, then where we are headed to. And so it reminds me of what I'm doing, where am I headed. It becomes easier, yeah, to continue doing over time. It's like the Egyptian mummies, yeah. That tomb has um, many elements for their afterlife. Yeah. But what if that afterlife is right here? Like you talk about future, but what you do now, how you do things, how you interact with things, that's your afterlife. That's like also you sleep today. Yeah, you wake up tomorrow. That's also afterlife. I mean, life today and then life tomorrow. Going on and on and on. Yeah. So that's also how you're regularly updating, upgrading. I call it improving the interior decoration of my house. Yeah. So I pay attention to the flora, fauna, seasons, and then improve the interior decoration. Yeah, according to this is my stage of development right now. And does the interior decoration suit that? And then it's the, every new stage of life requires you to be a new you. Yeah. So then accordingly, the things I put up on the pin-up board or the colors I put or in which particular arrangement helps me remember. So now I have a board now, yeah, to remind me, teach, teach. Yeah. So that was not there in the previous season. Yeah. So I hope this gives you a little perspective. I'll keep putting up these videos. So you could also be kind of updated on what's happening in my world. Yeah. So if you're curious, um, if anything that I'm doing is of interest to you, and that has you live a healthier, wealthier, wiser life, because I'm about enlivening life in the multiverse. And if you'd like to be amongst those people who'd like to enliven life in the multiverse, have the health, wealth, wisdom that's possible from just having a body that's human. Yeah, it's amazing. Given that WHO's list of diseases talking about how many people don't know what I'm talking about, that gives you more reason to pay attention to what I'm doing. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been of value to you. Good day.